Welcome to Laguna Seca for rounds 10, 11 and 12 of the iRacing British Touring Car Championship on BSR TV with me, Chris Cohen, and delighted to say joining me in the commentary box for today is the one, the only Dan Blake. Hello Dan.
Hello Chris, thank you for letting me in the commentary box. I think we're going to have a fantastic evening's racing here.
So the usual format for this championship, 30 minutes of qualifying will be up in just a moment, and then three races, three action-packed races hopefully, 10 laps each round this circuit, which is about a minute and a half a lap, and the reverse grid will be used in the third race. So qualifying, which is coming up in a moment, will decide the positions for the first race. They will carry through from the results of the first race to the second race, and then the reverse grid is used in the final race just to make things even more interesting than they already are. Let's have a quick look at the season standings as the drivers get ready to start off their qualifying session. Up top, Adam Terry in the Dyno Jet, and then it's a whole load of eBay Motors. 4 of the top 6 spots now taken by eBay Motors. Stevens second, Katz third, Pinella fourth, Simon Field splitting the eBay Motors chaps with the Wicks Racing entry, Richardson in 6th, Bond is 7th after her impressive finish in round 9 2 weeks ago, Paul Bird for Airwaves is 8th, same points as Jack Tucker, who I don't believe is here today, and Dave Grunnell is in 10th. And Dan, there's no entry from Katz this week, who's third in the championship at the moment. He's been storming through the table. He's taken 4 wins out of the last 6 races, so this is going to be a big impact on the points.
It's going to be very big indeed. It's going to give some of the other drivers a bit of a chance to catch up. Maybe Katz trying to give them a bit of a chance, but the cars are flying out the track at the moment for qualifying. A big herd of them flying down to turn 1.
Yeah, and it's always the case that these drivers are very eager to get out a good qualifying lap, but you know, when you get stuck in the traffic there, it might be better to wait a little bit, surely, given that you've got the 30-minute period.
Yeah, you want to get as much space as you can ready, and also a bit of contact there. Simon Topham has gone into the back of one of the Pertec cars, now he's flying off into the wall, and it's qualifying, and there's carnage already. They really need to realise they're not racing at the moment, they just want to try and get some space for a good lap in, but drama already, and we're only a minute into qualifying.
Well, luckily they've both got time to get some repairs in and get back out on the track. Back with the standings then, Oscar Mangan down at 11th there. He's pulled out of the championship now, I believe, unfortunately. Craig Ray, who is possibly another non-entry this week, is in 12th. Richard Wild, who looked very fast in the practice session earlier this week, 13th. Ben Kelly-McCauley, 14th. McCarran, 15th. Graham Smith, 16th. Peter Foster, 17th, Van Gool 18th, Topham 19th, rounding out the top 20, Stephen Hefford for Pertec Racing. So we'll go out and track and have a look at the drivers while they're qualifying. It's quite a big field here, isn't it?
Yeah, a very big field, and on a track like Laguna Seca there aren't really that many overtaking opportunities that are safe. You've got turn 1, but I think it'd be interesting to see what happens at the corkscrew throughout the race, because quite a few drivers in practice seem to be misjudging it wrong, and also that corner before the corkscrew, turn 6 going up the Rahal straight, cars going wide there, so I think there'll be 2 key areas for the races today.
Not really overtaking positions there at turn 6 and the corkscrew, are they?
No, not if you've got a level head on your shoulders. Maybe not. Maybe towards the end of the race, but you certainly want to be making too many early moves there, that's for sure.
And of course, with such a big grid, Dan, the temptation is to push your way to the front in turn 1, but with such a tight corner on a long straight, that might not be the best idea.
No, I don't think that'd be the best idea, but it is touring car racing, of course, so you may see a bit of door banging, but it would be a bit of a shame if we see races ruined. But currently it looks like we've got Daniel Hunt on pole position from Adrian Gibson and Colin Steele in the early stages of the session.
Yeah, and of course that is still a lot of time in the session, so all of that has the potential to change, but we're expecting fast entries from Ellis Stevens and Pinella for eBay Motors, and also Richard Wild, who I said was very impressive during the in a practice session earlier this week, as we just look at Daniel Hunt in the Speedworks Motorsport car. But it is quite action-packed out on track already. Like you said, there's one incident there already, and it could quite possibly be a few more before the end of this session. What do you think?
I think there probably will be, but they should remember really it is qualifying and trying to get as much space as possible. You got cars in a big line, as you said. You got Daniel Hunt. There's a couple of cars not far behind him as well. They see a Honda, one of the USA Racing cars in front of him, and also one of the Pertec cars, I think, as well. So, but at the moment they'll find it hard maybe to get as good a lap as possible, because they want to get as much clean track as possible. But with the big field as it is, it's going to be very hard for them to do so.
And Daniel Hunt coming over the line there a few moments ago at a 1:30.01, not quite cracking that 1:29 barrier, but that's still a very impressive lap time. Puts him second in the positions. Only Dave Grunhill faster so far, but Grunhill running away with it so far with a 1:29.4. I mean, that's an impressive time already from Dave.
That is very impressive from Dave Grunhill. He's gone out early, he found the space and took full advantage of it to put that KX Momentum car currently at the top of the standings.
Excellent work there, and the timing screen has gone slightly wrong here, so what I'm going to do is just reload that a moment and get that back up on the screen. But I'm very, I don't know about you, Dan, but I'm very keen to see what Ignacio Pinella can do in this session, because he's been out of the championship. He's not been out of the championship, but he's sat out the last 6 races, so he should be very keen to put in a good lap here. His current best is 1:30.4, but we should be seeing an improvement before the end of the session. That wouldn't surprise me if he was able to crack that 1:30 barrier.
No, he's also on quite a clean lap at the moment. He's got many cars in front of him, but as you said, he's missed 6 races, but he's still 4th in the championship at 86 points, so he's definitely going to be a contender for victory in our 3 races today. He's a top runner, and the fact that he's missed 6 rounds and still only 4th in the championship just proves that.
Yeah, and of course he was in the lead of the championship up until that sort of break that he took mid-season. Back in action now, but I'd say the competition has probably got more tough now that he's come back. So we've got the likes of he'll be contending with Adam Terry. He won't be racing against Andreas Katz, his teammate, this week. But Katz is also a strong contender for the championship, and the long-standing runners in this championship, Richardson and Stevens as well, in with a shout. But I mean, just looking at Pinella go around the track now, he does have a very aggressive racing style. He's really getting stuck into some of those corners. Runs a little bit wide coming out of the final turn. Shouldn't hurt him too much, but he's definitely one to watch. Do you think he might end up on pole here?
Be interesting to see. He's just crossed the line now, but I think that time didn't count for him because he went a bit wide. But I think for Pinella, I think it will be interesting to see what he does. But some very impressive times coming in. Richard Wild, 1:29.419. You got Simon Field in the Wix Racing car with a 1:29.666. And championship leader Adam Terry also in the 1:29s at a 1:29.867. So as you said, Chris, a very competitive field out here today.
So I think that's the top 4 drivers so far on a 1:29 lap. Daniel Hunt there, we saw his lap earlier, 1:30, but it was only just in the 1:30. So the top 6 now split by about half a second, only 8 minutes into this qualifying session, and thankfully no one else is. Just as I say that, Pinella's gone wide. He has. That's going to end his qualifying for now, but he doesn't take anyone else out with him, which is probably for the best.
Yeah, I don't want to really ruin any other people's laps. If there could be a danger if he does that he may get the attention of the clerk of the course and the stewards, which is probably not what he wants really, after losing quite a few points by not racing. But Pinella's got plenty of time to get another lap in. He's got about 22 minutes left, so plenty of time for him to get that fast lap in.
And of course, with 3 races every week, maximum of 20 points, aside from the bonus points coming out from each race. That's 60 points you could earn in just 1 week here. So Laguna Seca, just like the other rounds, is obviously going to be a very massive points haul if one driver can really get on top. This track is obviously iRacing doesn't have all of the British tracks available, which is why we're over in California this week. But for me, how does this differ from some of the for you rather, Dan? How does this differ from some of the British classics like Alton Park and Brands Hatch?
I think it's quite a different challenge, really. It's not really similar to many tracks in this country, but it's a bit different for them to go on. And I think Laguna Seca, it is known as a touring car track. The World Touring Car Championship have travelled there in the past, so I do think that the Laguna Seca circuit is quite well suited for these cars. With the you've got the undulations, you've got the uphill section, you've got that breathtaking corkscrew as well. Very fast flowing track in places. So I think these guys will have a good time out there tonight.
And we just seen Sean Lay making a mess of the last corner on what otherwise would have been a pretty good lap. Just having a look at Adam Terry here. He's currently in 4th place. Now, Terry, a strong championship contender. Oh, and he just pulled off the track there. Terry is a strong championship contender. He took the round 9, the final race from last week, coming from 7th on the grid in what was a thrilling battle. He took that first place by 0.1 of a second, and if anyone's going to overcome the strength, the collective strength, if you like, of the eBay Motors team, it is going to be that man, Adam Terry. Let's see what he can do in this qualifying session. He should be able to get a little bit higher than 4th. Simon Field, in fact, going on to pole position there with a 129.2. So well, it's possible, Dan, isn't it, that we could even crack the 129 barrier, get into the 128s here.
It is possible, but that was a fantastic lap from Simon Field. I watched the second half of it, and the car really looked planted to the track. It was a very, very good lap from Simon Field, and a 129.2 is a reward. So for now, he is on pole position. I think that lap will be quite hard to beat, though.
Yeah, indeed. And let's have a quick look lower down the field. Pinella currently down in 8th position. He's like we've been talking about, he's been out of the racing for a couple of weeks. It might take him a little bit of time to get back into the flow, get his rhythm back, especially on this rather technical track. Gibson, who is a new entry this week, is down in 9th. Laura Bond in 10th there. Shaw 11th. Nick McCarron 12th. Paul Bird is in 13th. Naris 14th. And 15th is Morgan. So the position's changing all the time, as we can see those on the screen there, but the top 15 are separated by about 2 seconds. So over the course of a minute and a half lap, if the race pace continues like that, and there's only 10 laps in the race, we're going to end up with quite a close race. It might come down right to the wire on the final lap.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. Nice close race, and something that the drivers probably wouldn't want to have seen was Stephen Sharp going in the middle of the corkscrew, spun round. He's recovered now, but probably a bit of a dicey moment for those coming down the corkscrew on a fast lap, and it probably would have affected a few people's laps, that obstruction.
But such an easy corner to lose it on, though, isn't it, as well? I mean, it's one of the most technically challenging corners in the iRacing roster, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. It's one of those corners where if you get it right, you can gain a lot of time from it, but if you get it wrong, it really can cause you a bit of problems. It's really one of those corners where to really master it is really quite a challenge.
So let's have a look now out on the track, and we'll just have a quick look for a driver who's coming around that section of the track now. Terry, as you see, just taking that corkscrew. The problem with the corner from the driver's point of view is that you're up what isn't really a straight. It's kind of a wiggly sort of straight, and it's a blind entry corner, so it's a left-right, almost like a chicane, but it's like you're driving off a cliff. It's a left-right in quick succession. You can't see the exit of the corner or even the entry on the way in, and of course the ever-present threat of the slowdown penalty is waiting for you if you misjudge it slightly. So not only have you got this monstrous corner that you do well just to get through, if you don't get through, you're looking at losing a few places as you have to slow down and give up the time you've gained.
But the blind bits of it, it's a real leap of faith as such. You gotta hope you got your car in the right position. And we said about that lap time by Simon Field, but Richard Wild has gone better, 129.207. So Richard Wild currently on the pole position.
And that really is a fantastic time around here. This isn't a fixed setup race. These guys are free to change their setups how they please, but these cars don't have too many setup options on them compared to some of the sort of more high performance open wheel races. There's not so much you can do with them. These Kias, remember, the Kia Optima is a front wheel drive car, quite unlike driving a rear wheel drive car, and they've got a lot of power there. So that's 380, almost 400 horsepower there, going through those front wheels. When you pair that up with a 2-litre turbo engine, what it means is if you drop the revs down too low, you lose all that power. You've got no chance of getting it back without a long delay. And how does it play out for these drivers who are used to the other disciplines, maybe coming into this from open wheel racing? How much of a challenge is it to get adjusted to this Kia?
It's a completely different ball game as such. But you said most of the cars on this service are rear wheel drive as well, but this is a very unique car on the service. There isn't a front wheel drive car like it. And as you said before, the fact it's got the turbo makes it even more of a challenge, because where some of the habits they may have learned from the other series will probably be detriment to them in this one here.
And just as you're saying that, Dan, Adam Terry has taken the pole position. We were talking about this man earlier, Adam Terry. He is a very quick driver under the right circumstances, which just happens to be most of the time. And 1:29.195 edges out Richard Wilde by just about a hundredth of a second there. Really not much in it.
These times just keep going lower and lower, and as you said, there may be a chance of them getting into the 128s. If anyone gets in the 128s, I'll be extremely surprised, because I think these guys are really pushing the limits at the moment.
And of course, this is a championship that is open to anyone who really fancies it, whether you're a rookie or a seasoned road racer in iRacing. So new drivers signing up all the time. Unfortunately, some drivers having to drop out. What we tend to find is there's quite a few big grids as well, so there's always action-packed racing. It's always very short races, and what I'm looking to see is if any of these new drivers coming in can really break through, and like Andreas Katz did, he came into the championship, he absolutely stormed through the last 6 races, winning 4 of them, and got himself into 3rd position in the championship now. In fact, he's not here this week, but because it's open to any drivers, if you have an iRacing subscription right now and you do fancy a little bit of touring car action, you can sign up. You're looking for BTCC in the iRacing leagues. And am I right in saying, Dan, that if you don't have an iRacing subscription right now and you want one, you get 3 months for the price of one right now?
I'd have to double check on that, but I think there is a similar offer to that at the moment. Yeah, iRacing very keen on getting new members involved, and if you like the looks of this on track, well, come and join us, because iRacing as a simulator is very, very good. And as Chris just said, this championship has drivers of all different ability levels, from some very good drivers to some novices, and they're all racing in one place, and it means that everyone's got a battle as such. It's not like some races you can get where if you're one of the slower drivers, you find yourself at the back and no one to race with. In this championship, everyone seems to have someone to race with, which makes it thrilling for them and thrilling for us in the commentary box as well.
Of course, yeah, and if it's fun for us in the commentary box, it is even more fun for these guys out on track. Obviously, going to be a few incidents here and there. You're going to be a little bit peeved, shall we say, if you get taken out by somebody on the track. But most of the time, wheel-to-wheel racing, a lot of jostling for position, and because the races are so short, like we've mentioned already, it's very much a case of close quarters driving for what can be the entire race. And we're roughly 18 minutes through the qualifying session now, about another 12 minutes to go. Adam Terry then still on that pole position with a 1:29.195. Richard Wilde 2nd, Field is 3rd, Grunnell is 4th, Nick McCarron is in 5th, Bennett is in 6th. Good to see one of the new entries, Daryl Bennett, there getting himself up into the top 10. Hunt 7th, Pinella on his return to the British Touring Car Championship in 8th. Richardson, the younger Richardson I should say, John Richardson, we've got 2 Richardsons in the race today, is in 9th, and Sean Lay is in 10th. Now Sean Lay is a very interesting position in the championship, because he does have that pace. he is very quick around the track, but in terms of the races he's had in the championship so far, he's not been that consistent. We've seen him go off a few times, sometimes through error, sometimes because he's been taken out by somebody else. But I mean, he's really going to have to get his consistency there to move up through the championship. He's not very high at the moment, and in fact just edged out of the top 10 there. We're just looking at Marcus Narris coming around the track. So have we got qualifying times from all these drivers so far, or is there still some yet to go out on the track?
Climbing got 31 times in, but as you were saying before about Sean Lay, qualifying is very important for someone like him, because if he can get higher up the field, and he obviously minimises the chances of being involved in that pack skirmish going in the first corner and the early stages of the lap. So for someone like him, qualifying in this particular round would be very, very important.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, if some of these drivers are newer to iRacing perhaps, or even new to the car or this track, are not going to qualify quite so highly, it doesn't matter too much. If you start further down, there's still plenty of time in the race to make up the positions, but it's the lower diminishing returns, right, Dan? So if you make 10 places up from the back of the grid, should be fairly easy for some drivers. To make 10 places up when you're in 10th and get to the lead is going to be incredibly difficult.
Oh, definitely, because the further up the field you get, the higher quality you get. And just going into the top 10, we got Laura Bomb with a 130.181. We said before about drivers in the 129, he's got 7 drivers currently in that 129 bracket, so some very quick times coming in. But as you said, the higher up the field you get, the more difficult it's going to be. The likes of Adam Terry, I've seen race in other championships before at a very high level. You got Simon Field, Richard World, David Grinnell, some very, very established Club UK and I drivers who proved very handy in a variety of different machines on the service.
And Sean Lay, in fact, bringing himself back, hauling himself back into the top 10 there. He is now on a 129.962, so he has joined the 129 club, if you like. Nobody's managed to establish the 128 club just yet. And as we go over the line here, let's go on board for a while with Marcus Narris as we come round this rather technical track, Laguna Seca, out in California. Bright sunshine for this session, and there's a lot of very difficult corners, surprisingly difficult corners, because of the change in elevation on this track. You go coming through turn 3 here, he's turn 4 rather. He's keeping it nice and tight there. Uses a bit of the rumble strip on the exit. Switches over to the other side now. He's beginning to go up the hill as he comes into 5. Just misses the apex slightly. He's coming onto the bridge into turn 6. Now this is where you have to choose. Are you going to lift here? Oh, and he's taken a little bit too much curb there, and some of the dirt as well. And he knows it, so he's pulling off the track there. That's his lap over, unfortunately. But yeah, going back to that turn 6 that we just saw Marcus go through there. That's one of those corners, isn't it, where you could brake for it, or you could just lift, but you really can't take too much of the inside there because you will get slowed down.
Yeah, it don't want to be really. You've got to watch the track limits, but also you could probably do a bit of damage to the underside of the car, which you don't want. But that turn 6 is one, as you said, you can either lift off or you can dab a little bit of the brake, but you've got to make sure you got your steering pretty precise, because you've got the inside where you can get caught out, but also on the outside. If you get too wide onto the outside, you can go across the sand and lose even more time. So very, very precise steering is needed for that corner.
Yeah, indeed. As we just look at Rob Ross, who is one of the newcomers to this series, he's currently down in 30th place here with a 133.5. So that's a full 4 seconds off the leaders. Like I say, this league is open to everyone, so it doesn't matter too much as long as you're enjoying yourself. It's not you've not got big cash prizes, and you've not got big sort of podium finishes or anything like that. No glitz and glamour with this one, but it's mainly about getting out there and having some fun. And as he comes through the corkscrew, keeps it very tight. Rob Ross, it is Yuasa Racing as a team having a bit of a hard time this season, not really being able to get those top positions. But with these new entries, any of these drivers could be joining any of these teams. Depends what they fancy doing when they come into the tournament or the championship. And we just watch him come around that final corner there. deceptively tight, the final corner, as he comes over the line. He's not going to improve on his previous time. He's got some pace to make up there. And how much of a difference do you think the setups are going to make on a track like this?
Depends really. I think with wheel track setup will make a difference. There isn't a single track, I don't think, really, where if you were in a baseline setup compared to a normal one, that you're going to find yourself a better. Obviously, the better setup you have, and it depends how you like the car as well. Some drivers prefer it looser, some prefer it tighter. But really, I think setup, as with any track, really, is going to be important for different driver styles. And we're talking about the Pinella earlier. He was in 5th position, but Nick McCurran has dropped him down to 6th place. But Ignacio Pinella up to 6th place with a 1:29.887.
And I don't think he's going to have too much to complain about after this qualifying session. Really, he is. He's coming into this championship again after 6 races out, and he's. I don't know if he knows this track or well or not, but to come in, just get back in the car, six races out, and come into the grid on 6th position, which, with 5 minutes left, is increasingly likely to be his starting position for the first race, as you say, is not a bad job at all. And just having a look down the top 10 now, Laura Bond is still rounding out our top 10. She is down there in just about a 1 minute 30-ish lap. 9 drivers now with that 1:29 by their name, and a 30 driver field at the moment, or have we got a few more times set now?
33 times currently set at the moment, but we talk about Pinheiro, he's coming out for one last effort. So Ignacio Pinheiro is currently on his outlap, so with about 4 minutes to go, he's going out for one last run.
Well, let's see what he can do. Let's stay with Pinella then, see if he can get up above the 6th position. In the meantime, I believe we can have a quick word with Daryl Bennett, one of the new entries into this championship. Daryl, are you with us?
Yep, that's it.
How was that for you, Daryl? You're new to this championship, so is that tough competition for you, or did you find that pretty easy going?
Very tough competition. I mean, the thought in practice the times were really quick compared to what I saw last night, and trying to get a clear lap in qualifying is a bit hard work. I'm happy with my 1:29.9. That's the fastest time I've been in practice and qualifying, and that's the best I'm going to get.
So you're out of the qualifying now, you're out of the car, you feel like that's the best you can get. You happy with the setup, or do you think there's some improvements to be made there during the race?
No, I've got the setup exactly where I want it. We're struggling under braking at the start of practice, but I've managed to dial the car in now, and it's exactly where I want it.
So unless someone can top your time in the next 3 minutes, you will be starting from 9th on the grid. How are you going to take that first corner? Because that's not the easiest thing to do with 30 plus cars on the grid.
Very carefully. I think I'll be looking more in my rear mirror than what's going on in front. To be honest, I'll be very careful.
And coming into a championship like this, have you got a lot of experience in this particular kind of car, or have you come from other disciplines?
No, I'm actually new to sim racing. Full stop. I've got some real life experience. This is the first time I've drove the Kia, to be honest.
Well, it's a big stage for you, as we are now live on the internet. So we'll be hoping you get a good result in the first race, and if not, 2 more races to follow anyway. But best of luck to you, Darren, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Back over to you, Dan, for a moment there, as we just saw we were on board with Pinello, and he's just gone a little bit wide, just pushing it a little bit hard. That was turn 6, where you mentioned before you can't get too wide and you can't get too narrow on the entry to that. Do you think that's going to be a big risk for drivers, especially in the early stages of the race?
I think there could see some slowdown penalties there on the early stages of the race, but they're all driving close together. You also got if one of them makes a mistake there, will others, because when you're driving close to somebody else, you tend to follow what their car's doing, and sometimes even without realising. So if someone goes wide, you can follow them straight off as well. But Pinero's lap there was ruined, but I think he's got time for one more lap. He's on the flyer now. Quite a good start to lap for him so far. Also on that lap, coming into the first corner, coming at 1 and 2, he looked very, very loose. He didn't quite get it tucked in probably as he'd like to have done. So even before he got to turn 6, it wasn't a fast lap. But this lap automatically looks better, and he's got half a lap to go. But he's down to 7th place as well. Ellis Stevens a 1:29.875. So Ellis with a late time putting himself into 6th position. So Pinella needs to get going, and pretty quickly. He's not about a minute and a half left to get a time in.
Yeah, indeed, and the lead of the grid has now been taken. Pole position has now been taken by Simon Field, and Adam Terry's actually been pushed down another position from there. He's down in 3rd from pole as Richard Wilde takes that 2nd place, and this is incredibly close in the top 3, isn't it? .073 separating 1st from 3rd.
Extraordinary, yeah, it's really, really close racing considering we got a 2.25 mile track. That really is something. But Pinella, this looks like a very good lap for him. It'd be interesting to see where he puts him.
And he just comes over the line there in a 130 point. Is that a 130? 0.2. So
130.2. That was not what I was expecting. I thought it looked quite a good lap, but he's obviously made a mistake somewhere. 130.2. But we talked about the 129 club, and there's now 10 cars in that club.
10 cars, right, so let's have a little bit of a look down the field. Laura Bond now pushed down to 11th. John Richardson is in 12th, Bird 13th, Gibson 14th, Hefford 15th. So 2 seconds is now the time, not for the top 15 drivers, but for the top 20 drivers. And going down the field a little bit further, we're 4 seconds off the pace down by the time we get to 30th place. It's a qualifying session now just drawing to an end. And we'd have a total of 33 qualifying times. 35 drivers are in this race, and let's have a quick look at the final times and what will be the grid for the start of the race. So this is not the right overlay at all, but Simon Field will take pole, Richard Wilde 2nd, Adam Terry is on 3rd, Dave Grunnell is 4th, and Lay with a very impressive final time, finishing qualifying in 5th position with McCarran 6th, Stevens in 7th. Pinella has been pushed down to 8th place now. Hunt and Bennett rounding out the top 10. But only 2 eBay Motors cars there, Dan, in the top 10. And with such a strong performance in the championship so far, maybe you would have expected them to do a little bit better in the qualifying session.
Maybe the other teams have gone forward a bit in terms of setup, and they found something that maybe the eBay Motors team haven't. But as you said before, eBay Motors in this championship have been quite dominant really in terms of a team performance. So it's good for the championship to see them claw back, but we'll wait and see. Qualifying is one thing, but racing is a completely different thing.
And remember, this is the iRacing British Touring Car Championship from Laguna Seca with me, Chris Cohen, and joined by Dan Blake. And we are going to take a very quick break now as the drivers prepare to go to the grid, about a minute, and we will be back on the air for race 1.